Yo, welcome back everybody. This is Rate This Clinic. Now, before I start this video, I just want to say that I haven't been paid by anyone. I'm not affiliated with any clinic and I have no agenda here other than to give you guys the best value hair clinics, hair transplant clinics, so that you don't make the same mistake that I did 5 years ago or 6 years ago when I went to the Butchers of Istanbul, Asli Tarjan. Now, you lot know that I love a good slating of a hair clinic, but today I wanted to do something a bit different and bring you a positive video where I'm recommending a clinic rather than telling you which one to avoid. So that's why I wanted to do this video today. So I'm going to get straight into it. So this video is about a surgeon called Dr. Giorgio Michalis. On his website it says Dr. Michalis Giorgio, but I'm pretty sure it's Dr. Giorgio Michalis, Dr. Michalis. So he's a surgeon that I've heard of, and I did a lot of research about him last year because I was considering going to him, and I have had quite a lengthy email exchange with him as well, which I'll get to later. But needless to say, he's got a very good reputation, but he's really under the radar in the English speaking world. But now he's starting to pop off a little bit. So he used to work for HDC Clinic, which is a very well-known clinic in Cyprus, and by all accounts is a really good clinic. It's another one that I'd recommend looking into. So he used to work for them. He broke away to create his own clinic. He's been doing hair transplants since about 2003, and he works out of Cyprus, but he also works in two different locations. So he works in Barcelona as well, and I believe he works in Greece as well, although I'm not sure exactly what city he works in. So let's just have a look at his website. So this is Dr. Michalis. It talks that he trained under Dr. Cole. He's been doing hair restoration since 2003. He does FUE, FUT. He uses body hair transplantation. So for people who need kind of hair from their beard or hair from their chest, he can do that. And he also does scar revision. So he's quite a versatile surgeon. Just interestingly, he also will, if you need it, he'll also punch out some grafts. Like, he won't do a whole punch out session, but if you do need some unsightly grafts removed, he will do it. Whereas there were some surgeons who are quite well rated, such as Dr. Pekina and Dr. Kaiser, both of whom I rate a lot, who said they were absolutely not going to do any punch outs for me. So that's just something to bear in mind. So if you do need a bit more versatility in your surgeon, Dr. Michalis is the man. Here you can see Dr. Michalis, and this is an important point. So it shows his team here. So you can see his technicians. So obviously when you go to a hair mill, you don't know who, you don't even know who the surgeon is going to be that day, but you also don't know who the technicians are going to be. But here he has his team of technicians. Three of them are certified nurses, so they're not just technicians, they're nurses. So you know who exactly is going to be working on you, which is super important. And even when Dr. Michalis goes to Barcelona or when he goes to Greece, he will have his technicians with him. He will fly his technicians with him. As far as I know, when he goes to Barcelona, for example, he will take his technicians with him. So he has a tried and trusted team who will do the business with him. So I think that's so valuable, and that's very important when you're considering who you want to work on you. Here he is talking about treatment. He's got some results here. Now, I always say, always take results that are on a clinic's website with a huge pinch of salt, because obviously they're going to put their best foot forward and put their best results on there. Same thing with the hair mills, that's what they do. But even when you're looking at the top clinics and top surgeons, just try to look for patient results rather than anything. So that's just something to bear in mind. Here he says contact us, so you can see Nicosia, Cyprus, Barcelona and Greece. Okay, so that is the doctor's website. There's not much more to say on that. It's a pretty typical website. But anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Dr. Michalis. So Dr. Michalis, when I was doing my research, he was very big on the Spanish forums. So that's where I found the bulk of his cases. Now, unfortunately for this video is not going to be the best in terms of showing you results of patients, because I was trying to load the website and the website is not loading for some reason, as you can see. But if you search recuperar tu pelo, which is a Spanish hair transplant website, you can see a lot of results. Dr. Michalis, 3,112 grafts. Dr. Michalis, 3,066. Dr. Michalis, 3,295. So lots and lots of results for Dr. Michalis on this website. Now, if it loads for you, I'm not sure what's going on with this website. I'm not sure if it's been taken down or what's going on. But if it loads for you, go through there and just turn on the English translation. Get the Google plugin and just translate the threads so that you can read them. Here you go. It's been translated and now it's all in English. Super, super valuable. And those threads are the reasons why I initially wanted to reach out to Dr. Michalis. There was such a bulk of threads and overwhelmingly they were good. There were one or two where the results weren't as planned, but you will find that with pretty much every surgeon. But the overwhelming majority were good. Now, there were a couple of famous results. Well, there's one famous result on an English-speaking website, which I'll get into shortly. But in the course of my research, I found out that Dr. Michalis is very well known for his no-shave procedures. So he doesn't require you to shave if you don't want to, which when you're recovering from a hair transplant is such a positive thing to have, because you can just cover up the grass with the long hair. Recovery is cut down significantly. You don't have that ugly duckling phase. I mean, it still will be a bit ugly duckling because sometimes you get shock loss during that initial 2 to 3 months, but you can style things out so much better. However, if you were going to ask me which one should you go for maximum accuracy and best results, I would say to go with a shave procedure, because then the surgeon can see everything in perfect clarity. But obviously, Dr. Michalis doesn't require that, so it's totally your choice. So that's just such a huge advantage if somebody wanted to go with a no-shave procedure. In my interactions with him and with everything that I've seen from other patients, Dr. Michalis does the majority, and to me, he said 100% of the manual extractions himself, and also the incisions, 100%. So so heavy doctor involvement, unlike a hair mill where you'll get probably no doctor involvement or minimal doctor involvement. So he's doing so much of the important work. Now, when it comes to incisions, those are very important because those determine obviously the layout of your hairline design and where the grafts go, and they also determine the angles of how the hairs will be inserted into those incisions. So very, very important, because if somebody gets the angles wrong, hair is going to suck. It's going to look really bad. In terms of the extractions, those are very important because they determine how your donor will look after the surgeon is done with you. If you have somebody who knows what they're doing, like Dr. Michalis, and they're doing manual extractions, and they're the ones who determine the pattern of the donor extractions, then you can pretty much be in safe hands, and you know that they're not going to destroy and decimate your donor like some of these hair mills will. So super, super important aspects of the surgery are done by the doctor, which I absolutely loved. And if I was going to get a hair transplant, that is what I would be looking for. In terms of initial contact by email, everything was with Dr. Michalis. He was the one who got back to me. There wasn't any third party involved. Very similar to Dr. Seva Morasanu from Hattingen Hair Clinic. Everything was direct with him. So I really love that. When I can speak directly to a surgeon, there's no miscommunication. There's no kind of Chinese whispers where everything is getting lost in translation. So very, very good communication with Dr. Michalis. You can tell him exactly what you want and what you're looking for. So in terms of the package and the prices, so Dr. Michalis is one of the cheapest and highest value, best value for money you will be able to get. So he will include flights, he will include a hotel, they'll get you a driver, that will be included in the price you pay. Now, one thing I will say, I have seen some inconsistency in his pricing, which is obviously something I don't want to see in a surgeon. I want to be able to see a flat fee, everybody's getting the same treatment. So I've seen different prices ranging from 1.7 euros to 2 euros per graft, which is still insanely cheap. And I'm only talking about his Cyprus offering there. I believe his offering in Barcelona will be more expensive, which is fine because obviously there will be different operating costs between Cyprus and between Barcelona. But between the Cyprus, in the Cyprus clinic, I have seen slightly different offerings in terms of the price. However, even if it is €2 per graft, the fact that they throw in flights, hotel, driver, it may have changed now. You're going to have to ask him yourself. So I'm not guaranteeing that that's still the case. That's just a brilliant offering. And on top of the fact that he is a great surgeon as well, like it's a no-brainer. Now, don't ever go for a surgeon just because they're giving you a 5-star package of a hotel and a driver and this and that. Don't ever do that. I made that mistake, obviously, where they gave me a hotel and they gave me transfer to the clinic and from the airport, blah, blah, blah. That should not be the primary reason. That should not be the primary reason you go to anyone. So those are just an added bonus. Just remember that. So Dr. Michalis really believes in dense hairlines as well. So if you've got grafts to play with and you want a dense looking hairline, he's the man. I've seen him talk about dense hairlines of 70 grafts per squared centimeter, which is what he suggested to me, and I've seen it with other of his clients as well. So I'm going to go through a couple of cases with you. So I'm just going to pull them up here. So the first client is a guy called Louis, who I found on Hair Loss Experiences forum. So he's quite a famous case now of Dr. Giorgio Michalis in the English speaking world. So he got 1,214 grafts with Dr. Michalis. This was his second transplant. So you can see here, this is his hair prior to the transplant with Dr. Michalis. So it's not too bad. You can see the hairline is looking a little bit sparse. You can see kind of some bare skin behind the hairline, first couple of centimeters. The temples, obviously, they look a little bit of a different consistency to the rest of his hair. So it's really not bad. So it looks like he just wanted to get a top up to densify things with Dr. Michalis. Oops. So here is another shot. I believe that's the right side, could be the left, depending on how we took the photo. You can see there's a bit of sparsity again, but it's not too bad, but there is some sparsity. So here we have the extractions. So the extractions look very well spaced out. He's used a very large area to space out the extractions, so you don't get kind of that harsh border where you can see that hairs have been grafted, from there. So there's no over harvesting. Again, you can see the extraction pattern, a lot of space between each extraction, which is very good. That's what you want to see in a donor zone. And here you can see a no shave procedure. So the grafts have been inserted. You can see this, you start to get like the inflammation in the front. It's still obviously wet because they've just done the transplant. But yeah, you can see how it looks with a long hair procedure, basically. And again, you can see it looks there. Hairline looks clean. And again, right there. So he just got all the hair put in the first few centimeters behind his hairline. Nothing in his temples or anything like that. So I believe this photo was taken a few months after the transplant. And you can see his donor is looking really good. Now, bear in mind, he had a hair transplant somewhere else before Dr. Michalis. So considering that he's had 2 procedures, one with Michalis and one with a hair transplant, that looks really good. Again, from the right side, that looks excellent. You wouldn't be able to tell anything had happened there at all. So you can see, so before the first surgery, obviously there's nothing at all. After the second surgery, so he's had a total of 3,750 grafts, you can see a slight thinning of the donor zone, but really nothing to shout home about at all. So obviously the first surgery, they did a decent job, but considering he's had a second surgery as well, that looks brilliant. I would love to have a donor zone like that after 2 surgeries. I don't. It looks really good. Fair play. And now here we can see his first surgery, his second surgery, where you can see it's a little bit more sparse. I think there are definitely some gaps. And then third surgery looks very, very nice, very natural. Things have thickened up a lot as well. Looks excellent. Now, granted, his hair does look styled a little bit better in the third picture, so I would like to see a like for like between the second and third, but it does look good. And then same again here, so you can see a side profile, so pre-surgery, then first surgery, and second surgery. So first surgery does look a bit thinner again, definitely looks a bit thinner, and second surgery looks great. I'm loving the hairline. And then we can see the same on the other side, same story. And then would you look at that? So I believe that was like 8 months or something after the surgery. That is that's a top class result. That is an A1 result, I can't lie. So that's in good sunlight as well. The hairline is looking crispy, looks very natural. I have to say that's a brilliant result. What can I say about that? It looks very natural. What can I say about that? It looks really nice. So yeah, so that is one case. So that's Louis from Hair Loss Experiences. We're going to look at another one. Unfortunately, we can't see a finished result, but we can look at the work. Sometimes the work gives you an indication of how things will end up. Not always, but I just thought I'd bolster the video by giving you another one as well. So let me just load that up. So this result was 3,400 grafts. So you could see, obviously, the guy was very high in the Norwoods. Probably like Norwood 4, something like that. I might be wrong on the Norwood scale. He's got a horseshoe going on. So yeah, you can see his initial situation. So here is how Dr. Michalis implanted the graft. So there are some irregularities in the hairline, so it's not too straight. Obviously, he's opted for quite a dense hairline. You can see that, and especially considering the fact they use 3,400. So it's quite dense, but they haven't gone for a very low hairline. It's still quite conservative, which I like. I'd rather have it a little bit more conservative, but denser. So you can see that hairline design looks good. It looks very appropriate. Again, you can see the irregularities. And now you can start to see the inflammation that's happened after the insertion of the grafts. There's another picture for you there. Looks like he's got some swelling going on in his forehead. Again, extraction pattern, very good. You're not going to get any over harvesting like that. So it's spread over a very large area. So you're not going to see any of the really over harvested donors like you see in Asli Tarjan. And again here, really good extraction pattern, clean. I expect that to heal very well. And then this is how it's healing. I'm guessing after a couple of weeks. Looking very nice already. So you can see the shape is looking really nice, and the hairline, I think that's going to turn out really good. And then there you can see that looks really good. Obviously, I expect the hairs to start falling out before you have the dreaded ugly duckling phase. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a lot to show you from that because that's still quite a new case. And again, apologies because the website for the Spanish forum wouldn't work. But I can vouch for the results because I've seen them. I've researched them very heavily. And so why didn't I go to Dr. Michalis? So in my case, I definitely needed more of a destructive approach rather than to implant and take lots of stuff from my donor. So obviously, if you go back to my Hattingen video, I removed from my hairline and reimplanted rather than taking a lot from my donor. If I was a first timer or somebody who just wanted a top up, Dr. Michalis would be very close to the top of my list, along with Dr. Pekina and Dr. Kaiser, who I will do videos on in the near future. But just Dr. Michalis is the fact that he is so interactive when you're emailing with him, the fact that his prices are so good, the fact that he just seems to be such a nice person as well, and he's got such a body of work behind him. These all count for a lot of things. So if you're looking for a good value for money surgeon who is hands-on and who deals very well with, I would say, uncomplicated hair loss cases, we'll talk like Norwood 3/4s up to Norwood 3/4s, I would strongly consider Dr. Michalis. And anyway, hope that helps. You got any questions, anything like that, avoidthisclinic@gmail.com, and I'll see you on the next one.